Welcome to Body Language Bloopers. Body language makes up 55% of how you communicate with your ideal client or your audience. 55% is body language. 38% is your voice in terms of pace, tone, and inflection. That comes from your voice. The other 7% comes from the words you say. Needless to say, most of communication is nonverbal, which is why body language is so important. Tip number 1, your feet should be shoulder width apart. They should be aligned with your shoulders, so you're standing with them slightly apart. This will ensure that you don't move back and forth when you're on camera. Now, a lot of people, when they get nervous, when they go live, they start rocking back and forth. That's the nerves coming out. If you rock back and forth, it's going to be overpronounced on camera. That is why your feet should be aligned with your shoulders. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, I'm sure you've heard before, it's to look directly into the lens of the camera. If you're looking at yourself down here, it's going to be off-putting to the person watching you. You need to be looking directly into the camera. Don't have your eyes go up or down looking at yourself in the video. That will be a complete turn off, and it's going to look a little bit off on camera. Since we're talking about eye movements and staying right into the camera lens, here's another really important tip. When you're going live, or if you're speaking in your stories, the most natural and common thing to do when you're trying to think of what you're going to say is to have your eyes go up and to the right. You watch yourself as you practice in a mirror or practice on camera. When you're thinking of something, it's 100% natural to have your eyes go up to the right because you're thinking about what you want to say. The thing is, on camera, it looks off. It looks a little bit weird, especially if you're live. For some reason, the camera overemphasizes certain things. Eye movements are one of them. So if my eyes were like this the whole time I were talking, it would look really odd. Looking down when you're trying to think about what you need to say just looks a little bit better on camera. It looks far better than looking up to the right like this. If you look down very quickly, it looks more natural. Now watch TV newscasters and watch the reporters as they go live on TV news. You can see what they do. They usually look down when they're thinking about what they need to say. These are the people who are doing the live hits from location. If they need to think about what they're going to say, they don't know what they're going to say, they're taught to look down. It just looks so much better on TV. So remember that when you're going live. Now we're going to get into some of the fun things about body language, some of the contradictory things that don't really seem to make sense. But for whatever reason, they've been studied to death, and these are the things you should do and should not do. Number 1, with your arms. This is so important. If your arms are crossed over like this in front of you, you look closed off, you look like you don't really want to communicate with the person you're talking to. So don't do that. Keep your arms by your side and talk with your hands if you can, as long as when you're talking with your hands, they're not going above shoulder level, they go down to your hips and across. So they're sort of in this area right here. That's the sweet spot where you're going to be wanting to keep your hands if you're speaking with your hands. The interesting thing about the crossed arms thing is that if you do a picture of yourself like this, it's actually a confident look, okay? That's why I say body language is so interesting. The one way you're closed off, the other way you look confident. The head tilt. This is a body language blooper that is very common amongst women. This is the head tilt. When you start talking like this with your head tilted to one side, it sends a message that you are submissive and you're not confident. We all want to look confident, so try to keep your head facing forward. The other interesting thing about the head tilt is it's submissive because the most vulnerable part of your neck right here, the jugular, is being exposed. Kind of like when a dog rolls over onto his back. That's a submissive gesture by a dog. For us, we're exposing the jugular where we could easily have our throats slit. That's why you want to have your head facing forward, because you want to look confident. Let's talk posture now. When you're standing up, you appear a lot more confident when you're on camera. So important. Try to avoid sitting down when you're on camera if you can, because it's going to make your voice project more. You're going to breathe from your diaphragm, which is where you need to be breathing from. If you're breathing from up here, what will happen is your shoulders will go up and down a little bit more on camera. You don't want that. Breathe from your diaphragm. Posture, stand up straight, shoulders back. The best way to speak with your hands when you're live on camera or in front of an audience or even doing a presentation at work is to have your hands out, palms up. That shows you're open, you're transparent, and you have nothing to hide. And isn't that the best thing that we want to convey when we're talking on camera? Palms up and out. Hands on hips. This is what some people call the teacher stance. Because you're standing there, you look angry, you look like you could be a little bit intimidating to your audience. It's just not. I hope you've enjoyed this body language bloopers video. You can continue to follow me on Instagram at I am Nancy Daniels. And if you want, you can always fill out an application for one-on-one coaching. Be careful of the body language.